viewer, I believe. I apologize for this. Doggone it.
I happen to have a copy of the second life.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Can-
yeah, on the official client, I'm looking in the note. There's a note card folder, just like in Firestorm. The search works just like in Firestorm. So there
right, I was
shouldn't
gonna-
be a difference.
I was going to suggest.
Let me try this. I'm almost there. I'm going to name this. Okay, let me try this. So I just dropped this into the HUD. Okay, let me try this. So I just dropped this into the HUD. Is that correct? Is that correct? Okay. Okay. So I'm seeing the note card now. I'm not sure why it wasn't showing up before, but I can just click and drag it into the HUD, correct? I'm not seeing it there. Yike. Okay, okay, right click on the HUD and choose edit, okay. I see, all right. Okay, stand by. Okay, I've got the inventory, I have the content section. I see my note card. I've got my inventory. Let's see, I need to click on edit item under the HUD. And then where do I place the note again? I'm not seeing where I. Okay. Okay, it looks like it's in the content panel right now. All right. Right. All right. Right click or left click? Okay, pick spruce. Okay, I clicked on that. Oh, okay. All right, and I apologize, everyone, for. Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here, Val. That's all I can say. I appreciate that. Stand by 1 second. I need to get oriented here. Let's see. First of all, everyone, thank you for turned around here. I'm sorry for this delay. I was just a slight snafu in getting started. So, Val, thanks a lot for your help getting going here. So The only other thing, Val, I know is I have I've got a transcript of my presentation today. So where does that go? Okay, so you say I drop it. So I need to, anyway, Val, I'm thinking maybe I should go ahead and get started before, should I get that up?
We'll transcribe the video once it is uploaded.
Okay, great. Okay. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming. And I apologize for this delay. I just ran into some unexpected snafus back in order. I just want to let you know I'm Bruce Wolcott. I'm also known as Zorreau in Second Life. And today, I'd like to take you on a brief exploration of what I like to call brave new generative worlds. This presentation is not about things are happening so rapidly. It's like paddling in whitewater. This will be a snapshot, a moment in time, a rapidly evolving shift in how virtual worlds can be imagined, created, and used in education. Are you seeing the second slide there, Val, in the middle? It's we've gone from this to this. Okay, great. Tradition of building virtual worlds piece by piece. Objects, textures, scripting, carefully and manually crafting environments over time. That process necessarily requires skill, patience, a deep understanding of spatial design. And it's important to say those skills still matter. So the stuff I'm going to be covering today doesn't mean that those skills won't be needed anymore. That's not the case at all. But it's important, I think, for those of us who are interested in developing virtual worlds and simulations for education to be aware of these dramatic changes taking place. So we're now moving towards new methods of creation where virtual worlds are not only built, but increasingly generated, where our role is changing an architect or art director working with a skilled and dedicated artisan. This graphic that I have up on the board, the main thing, one is from Mozilla Hubs is an AI generated one, Second Life, that we've worked in for many years. Second Life has its own building tools, right? And Mozilla Hubs was one example of that, where we really had to, within these social environments, we have to build our own. Those will continue to be important skills, but the new generation of tools coming out will be useful for expanding that tool set. I've Well, you're in how virtual worlds are coming into being. And instead of constructing environments step by step over days or weeks, we can now begin to generate complex visual and spatial ideas in minutes. Not as finished products necessarily, exploration, updates, and refinement. And this shift right now is happening very quickly. And I think it's much faster than most of us expected. What I'd like to share with you is what we're discovering at the Bellevue College XR Lab, which is where I'm involved with, a group I'm involved with, as well as some research and personal development that I've been doing on my own. As we begin to explore this new relationship between human creativity, AI assisted world building, so Just to give you some additional information about myself, before working with generative AI systems, my background has been rooted in visual storytelling, video game theory, and teaching. And starting many, many years ago, I've worked across different forms of image making, from emulsion-based special effects photography to digital and web. While teaching at Bellevue College, I've been involved in a role as a faculty lead at the XR Lab, which is a project, a group where we're exploring how virtual and augmented reality can support teaching and learning across disciplines. My current role is I have been working as the XR Lab faculty lead and currently the Emeritus Scholar, which has opened up and giving me to explore this brave new world of AI image and world building creation for the benefit of the lab, and then through the EDU network contributing to that knowledge base as well. So my perspective today comes from a place that may feel familiar to many of you, long-term engagement with building, designing, and teaching within spatial environments. Here are some images from world building experiences of my own dating back to 2002, working with a group of grade school students. You can see that in the upper left there. Social worlds application called Alpha World Eduverse. And 10 years later, in 2012, a group of designers, you can see a group of designers in the back, upper right-hand corner there, working on a color palette for a Second Life Virtual Worlds Museum, and a graduation photo project that we completed. So that's in social worlds and VR and spatial computing. So some of the things that I want to cover with you right now has to do with some of the work that we've been doing at the XR Lab as we explore this whole idea of how do we use spatial computing, XR, for teaching and learning. That's sort of been a key objective for us. So a significant part of my work has been involved with collaborating with faculty across different fields, including areas like interior design, nursing, computer science, geology, and microbiology. We've been exploring how immersive environments can support things like, as you can see, project-based learning, simulation-based training, and narrative or tour-driven explorations. So in many ways, communities like this have been developing for years. So the XR Lab, my home base, is located in Bellevue College in Bellevue, Washington. And here are some examples of the spatial computing projects, XR-related projects we've been working on with faculty at the XR Lab who are coming in from a variety of disciplines, and I'll very quickly go through these. This is a virtual gallery display of student projects, anatomy projects that were scanned and then brought into an augmented reality environment where you can walk around them and view them in full 3D. This is an interior design project where students generally aren't working in VR as they build their own designs for interiors, but the VR XR gives them the opportunities to explore what their space looks through it, gauging the height of windows and locations of. Another interesting category has been in hybrid nursing care simulations, where students are environment at the same time, where different scenarios are presented, have to work through and deal with a variety of challenges, nursing care. We're also interested in multi-user social worlds. We haven't been using Second Life. Other applications we've been using, Spatial IO, Curio is another one that we've been working, UL exploration, since this field is so VR related social worlds that are more immersive, and uh, variety of other social worlds out there. Um, we also, this is an example of using augmented reality. It's a lecture that's taking place in augmented reality in the headset. The You can see the scale of this of this cell is brought up really large. The instructor is standing next to it in this augmented space. And then there are some more flat screen types of approaches to spatial computing, such as this virtual normal variety of 360 locations that are annotated. So take a look at November of 2022, which is the release of the early large learning models. There's been a progressive changes in the way that we adapt and make use of digital, media and complex games, visual and spatial ideas in minutes. What I want to be covering a little more in detail today. So something began to shift in our workflow. With the emergence of large language models, AI-driven image generation, we started experimenting with these tools, not as replacements, but as a form of collaboration. We then adapted to continuing generative AI innovations and refining our methods. And some of this I've been doing on my own since I have more time available now than I did when I was doing more administrative type of work. One of the most eye-opening more recently was working with a program called Shapes XR, which enables you to collaborate within a fully immersive 3D environment. And what you're seeing here in the image is a picture of, or is an image of Maria, who is originally from Bogota, Colombia. She's working at the XR lab now in Bellevue. But here in this image, she's actually in Bogota, Colombia. We both have headsets thousands of miles away. She's generating AI objects and presenting a variety of different AI-based objects in real time, and we're in a collaborative space there. And the idea that we can be communicating in a full 3 dimensions like this in a collaborative working space, I think is really quite exciting. And now more recently, within the past few months, I can see using the latest generation of world generative tools as the basis for building spatial environments. The thing that we're realizing is that these are just more than new tools. This is a new process for how worlds can be built. Let's take a look and see what that is beginning to look like. And again, everything trends and where things are going to be even within the next 6 months to a year, sort of like taking a snapshot of being in whitewater right now as these changes take place. So we don't have an exact notion of where things will be, but some general trends seem to be standing out. And this has been the case with programming and the vibe programming. It's related to that same. So we're moving from this idea of building, of creating with our hands, and going step by step, bringing in objects and creating worlds piece by piece, to becoming a co-creator with forms of AI work and very quickly. And so rather than us working with a tool that we're building something, we're working with a partner that helps us create at the same time. And we're moving from this idea of construction from the ground up to the idea of generating ideas very quickly that we can adapt and use. uh, that we can use. So the process is more conversational, it's more iterative, in many cases, much faster. But of course, and importantly, I want to emphasize this doesn't replace the knowledge that we've gained and that we've developed. It's building on that foundation of knowledge, contributing the design sensibility, the spatial awareness, the aesthetics, the understanding of the audience and interacting with an audience. And these abilities remain essential. Um, what's changing now is how quickly we can move from idea to experience. My first glimmer of what this was like was my experience with using AI as a co-partner as I was building a virtual tour of I wasn't using imagery or environments from generating them in AI. And the reason for this co-partnership with AI was I wanted to prepare a virtual tour. So I'm preparing for an actual trip to France using a virtual version of this, this was to help pre-plan photography, location documentation, and to make clear in my mind what my task would be once I got on the ground there. AI in this case played a valuable pre-visualization role prior to my actual trip to Normandy. So this would have been in the fall of 2023, so just a couple of years ago. So next section, and I'm going to show you some examples here, is something fundamental is changing, and we're just beginning to understand what this might be. And I'm sorry these images on the screen they're for some of you looking at it. If you can use your magnifying glass to look at them, maybe that'll be helpful because they really are probably look quite small on the screen as you're looking at it. So at a certain point in our work at the XR lab, we began to notice that something something that was difficult to ignore. The process of creating virtual environments was beginning to follow a new set of rules. Instead of starting with individual objects and assembling them from step by step, we could begin with an idea and almost immediately see a variety of related ideas, interpretations emerge from that. The ideas initially weren't perfectly formed and then became, as we began to prompt and make use of ways of generating these new environments, they became clearer and better rendered. That process. On the left-hand side, it's generated from a text prompt in GPT. While the image is well composed to my eye, it's quite flat, looks synthetic, which of course is, with AI generated imagery. I think it's improving a lot. The second image is an enhanced version of the first one. And again, that's quite small. It has rougher feature of the textures used in that it looks less synthetic. And so the third image was done in Google Gemini, and it took a two-dimensional image that was generated, and it create a 360-degree version of it that could be viewed within a headset. So this idea, again, it's worthwhile. This is sort of a key notion in terms of what's happening now, is this idea of moving from construction to generation. So we build objects, we bring in objects piece by piece to build a virtual world. And the new approach is that we can generate environments, generate events, generate objects within that world, modify characteristics of that world. Traditionally, we've used manual updates. We've used manual updates. We can very quickly iterate on new updates. So I'll show you some. It becomes a challenge when you're working within to build 3D environments. The AI-based creation approach is more prompt driven and doesn't is asset management involved in my experience, but building things is time intensive if you're building from scratch. Ideas are time compressed and can be iterated very quickly. So what's remarkable to me is how quickly you can change the overall affective feeling. How quickly you can change the overall affective feeling state. You can do this any number of ways, right? So I have that same image that we were just looking at, looking out over an environment. And in this case, I'm applying 3 different aesthetic versions of that same image. The first is Art Deco in the far left there, following the characteristics of that Deco style, from the early 20th century. Second is traditional Chinese Taoist reframing of that environment. And the third is a styling from the 19th century golden age of illustration, typified by artists like Maxfield Parrish. In this next image, and again, I apologize, I want to use your magnifying glass on this. The overall spatial mood in these versions of that environment can be transformed by varying the surrounding natural environmental conditions. So in the upper left-hand corner, we have a rainstorm. One of the things I'm really impressed with the way that the generative AI, how the water in the floor of the chapel there on the left as rain is falling, and the lightning in the background was interesting. Second one is moonlight. You're in the chapel at night during a full moon. Third one is a winter scene, and then the remaining are autumn, summer, and spring versions of that environment. These happen. It's the main thing is coming up with prompts that work well, and that's one of the skill sets that is part of this, is understanding how the AI deals with instructions and recomposes it. And it's got a vast vocabulary of visual looks and approaches. And you can actually, in my experience, I'm working with more of a personalized AI that over time understands what my tendencies and my design approaches are, and has become really like a intelligent partner working through these design situations. So as you begin with the prompt, generate an image, you take a look at what the image looks, times the results are terrible. So it's good to get many different versions to work from. So the AI is saying, oh, try this, try this, try this, try this. And you're going, no, that doesn't work. Let's do this. Let's refine the prompt. And you begin to whittle away to get to the point where you're getting a result that works for you. And so that's the variation and reprompting and variation, reiteration. And finally, you come up with the world concept or the visual concept that you're looking for. Generally, the more detailed your descriptions, the better the outcome. However, declarative prompts I found often can work well. But in most cases, you'll be changing, updating, altering your initial prompt to arrive at your preferred result. Now, you don't have to read this prompt here, but what we want to do is create a courtyard cloister space with a central fountain. Notice the detail provided here, and this is not the full prompt. Again, there's tons of resources online for you to go and visit and try out different prompts that are available. Manuals, many of them are free. Um, but the prompting is an important part of getting what you want. And as I said, I'm working with several programs. There are many of them out there. So I had to sort of just decide to focus on my exploration, but simple. So I've been working with Midjourney, GPT, Gemini, Nano Banana. Those are the three programs I've been working with most of those are the three programs I've been working with most of the time. And I do try others as well. But in this case, I sent that prompt to Midjourney. Those results weren't seemed really busy. I could have the prompt with Midjourney, but I decided to try the prompt then out with GPT, the lower left-hand corner, and on the lower right with Gemini, the space. And GPT seemed to arrive at a version that I was happy with, or reasonably happy with. So we briefly talked about the process of AI generative world building. If we project this, we can imagine a very practical workflow for educators. So the instructor starts out with an idea, historical settings, a simulation, a conceptual space, and the tone of structures we've seen. They deploy it for students to explore, possibly within this, familiar with them, begin working with them. The iterations and variations are easy to come by, and as you gain a better understanding of the tool, the AI tool itself. We're not there, of course, fully yet. There's plenty of glitches and problems and challenges working with these tools, but we're moving in that direction quite quickly. I have personally found this relation, my sort of now it's 5.4. I found it to be very versatile and competent. In most cases, it makes glaring mistakes occasionally. However, it is navigate through the world building process. And I found it generally to be a fun and rewarding formal relationship.